Every bird on Earth shares one defining trait: feathers, a beak, and a body plan that evolution has been refining for roughly 150 million years. And then there are these five, because somewhere along the way, in the specific isolated corners of the planet where competition is brutal and survival demands something unusual, evolution produced birds so far outside the expected template that scientists encountering them for the first time struggle to classify them at all. These are not simply colorful or rare. These are birds whose biology raises genuine, currently debated scientific questions. Birds whose behavior, anatomy, and survival strategies are so removed from what we associate with the word bird that each one is, in its own way, a case study in how strange life is willing to get when ordinary solutions stop working. Here are 5 of the strangest birds still alive on Earth. Number 5. The hoatzin. In the swamps and riverbanks of the Amazon basin, there lives a bird that has baffled scientists for over a century and continues to resist clean classification to this day. The hoatzin looks at first glance like a pheasant that made some questionable choices. A rust and cream body, an absurd spiky crest on its head, and a face that seems permanently surprised by its own existence. It's medium-sized, roughly half a meter long, and spends most of its time in the low vegetation above water, moving slowly and apparently reluctantly. None of that is particularly strange. What's strange is how it digests its food, and what its babies do when something tries to kill them. The hoatzin is the only bird on Earth that primarily digests its food through fermentation, the same process cows and other ruminants use, using a specialized enlarged crop at the front of its digestive system rather than its stomach. That fermentation process produces gas and bacteria, and those bacteria produce a smell. Specifically, the hoatzin smells unmistakably and permanently like fresh cow manure, which has earned it the nickname the stink bird across the indigenous communities of the Amazon and among the researchers who study it. It is so thoroughly unappetizing to every predator in its ecosystem that this smell is believed to be its primary defense mechanism. No other bird on the planet has independently arrived at the same solution, but it's the chicks that are genuinely impossible to explain away cleanly. Hoatzin chicks are born with 2 functional claws on each wing, actual, usable claws on the bend of the wing, not vestigial stubs, not unusual bone structures, but working claws the chick uses to grip branches and climb back into the nest when it falls, or drops into the water below to escape a predator. This is not seen in any other living bird. It is, however, seen in Archaeopteryx, the famous transitional fossil between dinosaurs and modern birds, dated to roughly 150 million years ago. The hoatzin chick is not a dinosaur. It is a modern bird, but it temporarily develops and uses anatomy that vanished from the rest of the bird family tree before the extinction of the dinosaurs. Scientists continue to debate exactly what this means. Number 4. The shoebill. In the papyrus swamps of Central and Eastern Africa, Uganda, Sudan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, there stands a bird that looks, the first time you see it, like something a special effects team built to suggest an alien creature to a film director. The shoebill stands 1.5 meters tall. Its eyes are pale yellow and absolutely motionless, and its bill is shaped like a Dutch wooden shoe, broad, hooked at the tip, and enormous relative to the bird's body, giving it the same profile from the front as a prehistoric reptile and the general demeanor of something that has been patiently waiting here for longer than civilization has existed. That stillness is not incidental. It's the shoebill's primary hunting strategy. A shoebill hunts by standing completely motionless for extended periods, sometimes hours in shallow water, waiting for a fish, lungfish, frog, water snake, or Nile monitor lizard to move within striking range. When it decides the moment is right, it lunges forward with a speed that researchers describe as explosive, given the bird's otherwise glacial pace, crashing its entire bill into the water and collapsing onto its target in what ornithologists call a bill clap strike, a method that uses the hook at the tip of the bill to grip and stun prey simultaneously. The shoebill also decapitates its prey before swallowing it. Any fish or animal large enough to struggle during swallowing has its head removed first, cleanly and efficiently, using the sharp edges of that enormous bill. What makes the shoebill stranger still is its documented relationship with humans. Shoebills observed in wildlife sanctuaries and by researchers who visit regularly have been documented bowing toward familiar humans, a behavior the birds apparently extend to each other as a greeting, and standing still while photographers approach within a meter or two, watching with those unmoving yellow eyes without any apparent alarm. It is one of the only large birds of prey-type animals that appears to show something resembling individual recognition of people it has repeatedly encountered. It does not behave like a wild animal. It behaves like something that has been here longer than wild animals and decided at some point that you are simply not interesting enough to move for. Number 3. The Great Potu. Across Central and South America, in forest edges from Mexico to Argentina, there exists a bird that has solved the problem of survival by becoming almost literally invisible during the day. Not through camouflage in the typical sense, but through a performance of stillness and shape-shifting that has to be seen to be fully understood. The Great Potu is a nocturnal bird roughly 50 centimeters long, with brown and gray mottled plumage that matches tree bark in color, texture, and pattern. So exactly that the bird perched upright on a broken branch stump during the day with its eyes shut and its feathers compressed flat is simply indistinguishable from the tree itself. But it's what happens when a predator approaches that makes the Potu genuinely bizarre. When the Potu detects danger with its eyes closed, rather than flying away, it responds by stretching its neck upward, compressing its body even flatter, pointing its bill straight at the sky, and freezing in a position that completes the illusion of a broken branch so perfectly that field researchers have recorded walking directly past one without detecting it. It holds this pose, motionless, vertical, bill skyward, for as long as the threat remains present. Minutes, sometimes longer. Without moving, without opening its eyes, without breaking the illusion at any point. This alone would be enough to make it strange. Then you see its eyes open. The Great Potu has enormous eyes adapted for nocturnal hunting, that when fully open produce an expression so unnervingly wide and fixed that it is, by near universal consensus among the people who encounter it, one of the most psychologically unsettling faces produced by anything currently living. Multiple wildlife photographers and researchers who have written about their first nighttime encounter with a Potu's open eyes describe the experience as something they were not fully prepared for by any amount of prior briefing. It calls at night, too. The Great Potu's vocalization is a mournful, descending wail that carries through rainforest darkness and has been the subject of numerous local myths and folk stories across its range. In some traditions, the bird's cry is associated with spirits of the dead calling from the trees. Number 2. The superb bird of paradise. In the rainforests of New Guinea, the male superb bird of paradise has developed what researchers studying it have described, without meaningful exaggeration, as one of the most remarkable visual displays produced by any animal on Earth. The bird is small, roughly 25 centimeters long, with an unremarkable brownish body. During breeding season, the male spreads a broad, iridescent, blue-green breastplate and an equally broad black cape simultaneously, transforming its entire body shape into a near-perfect oval that reflects light so specifically that, from the female's direct line of sight, the bird appears almost entirely flat and two-dimensional. A floating disc of blue-green color with two bright white eye spots, bouncing rapidly from side to side in a precise, rhythmic display. The visual effect is not incidental. Researchers studying the display found that the feather microstructure produces what is effectively an optical illusion visible to the female from a specific angle. The bird's body literally disappears into the background, and what remains appears to float, pulsate, and generate its own light in a way that has nothing to do with how a physical object is supposed to behave. More striking still, because female superb birds of paradise are extremely selective and most male display attempts are rejected, researchers studying population dynamics in the species have found that successful males may mate with dozens of females in a single season, while many males fail to mate at all. The result is an evolutionary pressure so intense that each generation of males has pushed the display further. The iridescence deeper, the optical illusion more precise, the bounce more calculated. In what amounts to a multi-million-year arms race between male performance and female discrimination. What the female finds compelling is essentially becoming more sophisticated with every generation. Number 1. The Maleo. On the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, there lives a bird that appears to have outsourced the most fundamental responsibility of parenthood, keeping its eggs warm to the planet itself. The Maleo is a medium-sized black and white bird with an absurdly large helmet-like casque on top of its head, and a salmon-pink breast that makes it one of the more visually distinctive birds in a region not short on visual distinction. Adults are elegant, confident-looking birds that move through Sulawesi's forest without particular urgency. That confidence is earned. The Maleo does not build a nest. It does not sit on its eggs. It does not guard a territory around an incubation site the way most birds do. Instead, the Maleo digs a deep hole, often a meter or more into the ground, specifically at sites where geothermal heat from volcanic activity, solar radiation in open beach areas, or decomposing vegetation generates precisely the right temperature for egg incubation. The female lays a single enormous egg, roughly 5 times the size of a domestic chicken egg relative to its body, among the largest egg-to-body size ratios of any bird, buries it and leaves. The chick incubates underground alone, hatching fully feathered and capable of independent flight almost immediately upon digging itself out of the buried nest. An independence from birth unmatched by almost any other bird species. It receives no parental care, no feeding, no protection. It simply emerges from the ground, fully equipped, and disappears into the forest. Conservation researchers studying the Maleo have expressed real concern about the species population, which has declined significantly due to habitat loss and egg harvesting, since the geothermal nesting sites are fixed, predictable, and known to local communities, making them extremely vulnerable once the eggs are considered a food source. Here is what connects these 5 birds, and what makes them collectively so striking to look at carefully. Each one of them arrived at a solution to a survival problem that no other bird, and in some cases no other animal, arrived at independently. Fermentation as a digestive strategy. Geothermal incubation as a parenting strategy. An optical illusion as a mating display. a frozen branch impression as a survival strategy, prehistoric wing claws as an escape mechanism. Evolution does not have a plan. It runs every option available and discards the ones that don't work. These 5 birds are what remains after that process ran independently in 5 separate parts of the world and produced 5 separate answers to the same basic question all living things face. How do you survive? The answers, it turns out, are stranger than anything you were likely picturing.